Right, play. There we go. That's what we needed. We needed the voice to start us. Okay, so welcome to this sort of kind of community sharing experience thing where we've been doing this songwriting thing. I've done a year and a half, and the production thing for about 2.5 years of like trying to
Oh,
really understand how it works. And I am a professional musician, so I have some experience before that that's informed this, and I've chosen to try and make it my profession. But in the meantime, I've met all you lovely guys who all just want to write great songs and collaborate and share the music they're making. So what I've found in producing everybody in all these collaborations, I must have done maybe 20 or more, um, is just some of the technical stuff that will help vocalists, set stems, people who are just trying to record their vocal at home. We mainly focus on vocals. It seems to me that
Okay.
what because the way that our collaborations work is that we have a producer, moi, a lyricist,
Can't say.
someone, a poet, someone who has a vision, and then someone who's going to capture that vision and turn it into song through voice.
yes.
So,
I guess the neither. Sorry, I just said I understand.
yeah,
I switch to Korean all the time. I'm so sorry.
um, right, I lost my track there. Sorry. Um, all these expectant faces. Oh,
I know. Sorry about that, Zach. I disturbed you.
no, no, no. There was a saffron moment. So, oh look, the screen's just got smaller. There's lots more people. Hello, Joe. Another
Hello,
writer,
how
the
are you?
lyricist. That's where we were. We were
21
waiting for the
now,
lyricist.
21.
Yeah. I have a
Okay.
little technical problem. Back in a second.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Anyway, the idea there was we have a team. We write in teams: producer, lyricist, visionary,
Yeah.
and singer. So we join those three things together. Now,
Yeah.
as writers can just use their words. They can sing into a tape recorder. They can get an idea. They can write it down. The lyricist writes their words as their thing. Producers and singers in this day and age, we need to share our recordings of what we do. So we
Mhm.
need to share the vocals that we do. We need to be able to give the person who's mixing the song a good chance to make that so fit that into a mix and make it sound good. So as all the and say if there's a guitarist in who's also maybe the singer's a guitarist or one of the teams, someone's a guitarist or plays accordion, or who knows what acoustic instruments people play. They need to have an idea of how to set up a mic, how to record that, what levels to put in it, and then how to send a stem that is going to be exactly the right length. So when I get it, I just plonk it in and then it goes straight into the mix in time, and everybody's got and you've got a nice clean recording. I just stick a bit of compression on it, do a bit of EQ, stick some reverb on, and we've created a quick, really nicely made track that everybody will be able to instantly use as some sort of demo. Because that's to me what it's about now is that we've got all these great songs. I don't know, so we've got 4 to 6 groups every month over a year. That's a lot of songs, and they're all at varying stages of I'm not a producer, I don't know how to make this work. But from what I heard from all of them, they're all just that close. So in terms of being able to present them and say, look, we've got a body of work here that is that we have the ability to sound, look, be great. So the idea is that what we do is we share these things and we make music. So I'm just going to share my screen and go into Logic Pro. And if people can all mute, because we're all going to get feedback loops going on now. So if you can all mute your microphones, that would be great, and then we can hear what's going on. So that's not the screen I want to share. There are many screens. I'll just share that one. Can everyone see that? Can everyone see that okay? Oh,
Yep,
you've
I
all
can see it,
muted. Oh,
Zach.
yeah,
Yep.
there's thumbs up down the side. Thank you. I see you down the side now. So here's basically what I'm hopefully being able to do is we're just going to talk through everything in a way that will connect to all doors because fundamentally we are a studio making a noise recording to a timeline, which used to be tape, and you could see that it was a physical length. You now have your timeline, and we record to this. So we need to fill that with something. We one of the first things we do is, does everybody know how to set up their DAW and open a channel and all of that? So in Logic, you go to File, New. I'll close this and then I'll open it again. So when you create a new one, File, New, it comes up with choose a track type. So you can create a software instrument. And this will always come up as a piano. Now, I've got a piano, but I also use this when I'm on tour. I use this piano. Does the same thing. You know, you can use your piano keyboard, so the sort of first MIDI thing. And most people know how to use MIDI, I think. Or at least have some sort of recording into it. There we go. The songwriter's friend, the Rhodes electric piano kind of sound. So Logic opens up the sounds when you bring it in. And then what we want to do is look at what the sound is doing and where it's going and why it's going there. You know? So what we're looking at here is not being produced, we're looking at the engineering side of it. This is like the flow of water, the flow of electricity, the flow of information. It's very logical, it has places to go. It's called busing, and I was thinking about why is it called busing. So the idea is that we're on the classic electric piano line, okay? This is our strip, this is our route, everything to do with this piano exists here. It exists here alongside all the other tracks that we've got. So far we've got very little. We've got a master out, a stereo, and a couple of reverb auxiliaries on here. So this is our route, this is our running water, this is our bus. So our bus on the classic electric piano line is coming in on that green route there, bam bam. It can go to a group where you can group it with other things, but we'll look at that later. It goes to the stereo out at the moment, so that's here, that's shown alongside, and that's basically what will go out when you mix it. What comes out of this is what you hear in your headphones or your speakers, and that is what your final mix will sound like, whatever it is. Then we go to what the bus is. So look, so our classic electric piano, it can take bus 2 and it'll go bus 2. Oh, I'll go to bus 2. I'll go to the space depot. I'll go to the space delay depot, and I'm going to go and hang out in the space delay depot. Oh, I can add a chorus. I can go to a different one. Bus 3, I can go to a large hall. And when you click on bus 3, it will change to bus 3. So you see that what you're dealing with here is here. And with bus 2, same thing. It changes when you click. So this is Logic. It might be different in Pro Tools or Reaper or GarageBand. GarageBand is pretty much the same. So then and then the idea of this is that this is where we can bring in effects, and we can bring in concepts such as parallel compression, where you create a parallel version of the sound that accentuates and has more, you know, some more pizzazz, maybe more distortion, maybe just very trebly, just bring out certain sounds. So you can use that for a number of reasons, your buses. Then you have your straight in audio effects. So these will be your compressor. It'll be your tuning, such as Melodyne, a compressor. It might be an EQ and your EQ, de-essers and other things like that. So, and they're all to do with controlling the volume and the sound of the sound. So I've got a little note on this. Proper maths, there we go. Oh yeah. So then we have MIDI effects when we're using MIDI things. EQ here is a built-in equalizer that comes with Logic. and it automatically sets it up when you do there. And then you have here is settings. So here you can, I haven't got any set up, but the idea is that in this bit, you can save it. If you come up with a favorite sound, you go, wow, you know what? That is the best piano sound ever. I'm going to save that as best piano sound, which you can do save channel strip setting. So here it's saved as classic electric piano, and it's all saved automatically and puts it in the right folder for you. So you can just build it up there. The only one I do have, I think, is in here somewhere, but it doesn't matter. So that's the idea. That's our flow. And then, so what do each of these things do? What are we actually trying to do when we record a sound so that we mix it and it fits in with everything else? First thing that we do is we have to control the level of something. So when we're recording, that will be controlling the levels of signal going in so that it doesn't distort. And on the other hand, it'll be about it not being too quiet so that you can actually hear it and there's not too much hiss. So you get a balance there. So that's your levels in. That's called gain, and that's gain staging. So the controls of volume as a whole. So if we think about volume, this is how loud things are and how quiet things are. They're all about the fundamental dynamic of a track. Your fader and your compressors controlling sound and how loud it is and how small it is says, is it here or is it far away? Is it here or is it far away? So your volume is your main thing. And then you have things to control that volume. So most of us talk, and we don't talk in a robotic, even manner where everything comes out at the same level. We tend to have highs and lows, and our voices are dynamic to stress things and make information happen. You know?
I do. I talk like that.
Oh, you talk like, yeah, that's true. But that makes you perfect for radio, doesn't it? You can do it without compressors. Anyway, so the idea is our voices are exciting, and when we sing, they're excited. So we use compressors to control the sound by squeezing it, by taking all the high notes and bringing them down and giving us the illusion that the quiet notes have got louder. So this is an illusion game. It's like TV, you know. It's all about illusion, about what comes out of the speakers at the end. So you're making something, by making it smaller and less dynamic and taking all the peaks away, you bring up all the lower notes and you make it sit more solid and steady as a sound in the mix. So that's what compression does. And it brings it back and forward. So your second main is EQs. So if that's backwards and forwards in a room, your EQ is up and down. So lows are low, they're the bass, you feel it in the floor. Highs are highs, you feel it in the top of your head. So it's a physical thing, it's a vibration. So those frequencies, high notes you feel in the top of your head, it can all be a bit mental. Sorry, a couple of people coming to get in. Is everyone in?
Let them in the door. Come on, get in with you. Get
in. So EQs are your highs and lows. And so they create the height in a mix, and they create a height in the sound of what you're recording. If you want to record something low, really make sure that you're catching the low notes. If it's high, make sure that you're catching those high frequencies. Be aware of them when you're recording them, and you know what the instrument's actually doing. We'll talk about that in a minute, about proximity effect, putting a microphone too close to something and all you'll get is the boom. Take it too far away, it will just be tinny. So highs and lows, bass, frequencies go up, they rise up in frequency, they rise up in height. You feel them in different places in your body. So that's EQ, so that controls the height. Then you have panning, left to right. These are mixing things, so we don't need them in recording. But in the old days, on an 8-track tape recorder, you used to have to pan something to the left to record it on the first track. Then you'd pan that same knob to the right, and you could record it on the second track. Then you go into the third and fourth track would be in stereo, and you'd use the stereo to do mono. So that's how the Beatles recorded. So all their early recordings that are released as stereo, they were actually created like that because they wanted the vocal to be pristine. So they had that whole channel to itself on the left, and then they'd have the all the drums and everything, all the music on the other side. And then when it came to a mono mix, they'd be jammed together, and that voice would just be totally solid, no frequency interference from anything else. But then so you end up with these crazy panning mixes. So panning can be done in all sorts of exciting ways when you're mixing things. generally with panning, bass drum, bass on top, vocal, snare. That's your middle bit. Everything else goes to the side so that that rhythm and that fundamental bass and rhythm has space, and the vocal fills all the bit, and everything else is out of the way. It's called LCR, left, center, right panning, it's called. And that creates space. So between those four elements, volume, which is up front or at the back, EQ, which is high to low, high frequencies to bass frequencies, panning, left to right, and then the last one's reverb and delay, time effects, what they call time effects. And these delays create the illusion of the space you're in. What we're doing it in little rooms, but we can create the illusion of a canyon, or we can create the illusion of a club, or we can create the illusions of being in some strange ping pong echoey room. It could be anything we like. We have amazing things like this. So when you do your reverbs, you're creating the space. So again, but we're creating a space. And what one of the things I've noticed about the way that when anyone sends me Logic things is that they put all the reverb on to hide the voice. Rather, you've got to be proud of your voice. If you're singing it, you've got to be proud of it. And when we listen to a voice, the room is behind the voice. What we hear when we're speaking to a listener is right there, someone there. And then the room is around us. So we're always trying to create the illusion that we're in the room with the thing, but it's like, but the room itself, what an interesting room. So that's what reverb and delays do, and flanging and chorus and these things. So that's that's what this strip is all about. That's what we do here. We alter this signal, that wee bus that's coming there, that's coming in, and then we EQ it to give it its height, to give it its place in the height spectrum. So we say this is a hi-hat, so we want that up high. Bass drum, that to be low. Yeah?
Record like just like 4 bars of the keys, and then like just do a few examples of a couple of these things, would you?
That's a good idea. So I just wanted to do, working. So first thing to do is get your tempo. So you want to try and record to a click. So we'll just do walking heartbeat, double second, 1 second. Didn't record it, did I? First rule, press R. Run through done. Now I know what we're doing. Brilliant ending. First thing you do is you go and sort out this. Okay, so, but yeah, so we've got a MIDI sound come in. First thing you might want to do in the mix is EQ it. It's very clean. You actually need we need something that's messy to do this. So I'm going to do a guitar. So software, little shortcut, Option Command A gives you an audio track. Now my microphone's in stereo. So here's your input. So first we're going to name it rough guitar. Actually, it's a rough acoustic guitar. Could be anything. So we know what it's going to be. Because after this, that will name all your files. So if you start recording and it just says audio 1, audio 2, audio 3, all these files, all these things will all be called audio 1, audio 2, audio 3. So naming things early is really good. It just keeps everything tight. And as you go through, I'll just be naming things and I'll point them out. So we get the input. Normally this is mono, input 1. You can choose your inputs. If you've got stereo, you choose input 1, then you'd have another one here and input 2. Or if you've got 4 instruments and you've got 4 microphones, the first one would be input. That would be input 3, input 4, and then you've got your whole band coming in. But I'm on rough acoustic guitar, and I have a stereo microphone, so I'm going to shift it to stereo here because it has 2 inputs. It's very posh. So we're just going to look at what we do when we bring something in. So I don't know what you guys have. So if you've got a Scarlett or an interface, you'll have something like this. You'll have a box like that. Does that all make sense to people? A box like that you record into? It's real straightforward, you know. So our box has an input gain where you plug your microphone in into there, and it has a gain knob that controls how much volume, how much signal is going to go in. Some things have a high signal. If you've got a really loud singer who's doing that, then you might want to turn it down because they'll be really loud, or you're recording an electric guitar and the only way to get the electric guitar to really feel right is to turn your old valve amp up really loud, you know, so that might be the only way to do it. So then you turn your gain right down. So in mine, because of the system I've got, I control my gain on this, which is basically there's your channels coming in. Imagine 2 microphones going in. That's what I've done here on this one, the sphere. So that comes in there. So that's my microphone coming in on a stereo track. But that'd be the equivalent of just coming in on your microphone coming in here. Yeah. Then you have your gain. So here on my gain, I've got a gain control. You can, oh, where is it? Down here. I've got a gain control.
Zach,
Yeah.
you're not sharing screen anymore.
Ah, good point. You're just looking at my chin. How fantastic.
It's nice as well.
Yes, thank you, Tobias. That's what we want. Is that better? Away with the chin. So, yeah, can we see this?
Yes.
Excellent. Sorry about that. Thank you for the interruption there. So what I had on there before it disappeared is I'm controlling my gain here. So this bit here, this knob right here, that's the equivalent of this on an old system, basically. If I turn this off, I've basically got a control knob there that is changing. There you go. Look, really loud now. There. Bring it back. So that's just a flash extra thing. But that's basically setting your gain and what's coming through. So my voice is coming through at his numbers here at -24. If we push it right up, you'll see that it starts getting clearer. It's quite quiet there. Probably work if I was talking loudly. I was singing over here, la da 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 da. See, it builds up. It kind of gets into that -15 area. Now, one of the mixers at TCA, Cy Medway Smith, he said that he liked to try and, when it came into the machine here, he liked to keep everything at -12, around there. They're coming out of the stereo output. So this, because that would allow him to then send his file for mastering and give them real headroom to really bring out the best of the music, because masters have clever ears and they do really good ones, do very interesting stuff to your music. At minimum, they make it louder. but at best they bring out things you didn't really even know were there, you know, reverb tails, things like that. So back to my desk. So we're looking at we're looking at our signal coming in around here. So if we look at our input level, that's kind of in, maybe a little, yeah, I'd say that's okay. I come from a bit old school. I tend to get carried away, and there is an element of pushing it a bit into just trying to get it up towards the orange a little bit. A lot of things can be said about miking instruments. With a guitar, I used to just do what everyone did, which was put it there. Everyone goes, yeah, you get a great sound there. You do. You get a good, close, mic'd, controllable sound. But when I was working with Dave Ehringer, the producer of Manic Street Preachers, and who did our record, the Proclaimers record, he was like, what are you doing? You've got to let the thing breathe, the instrument breathe. So any instrument you have, don't be afraid of just, maybe you don't always have to be really close to capture it. Sometimes allowing a bit of the room, allowing a bit of the air around the instrument can let it just it allows more of the frequencies to have actually, their waves to have done something, you know. They've gone somewhere, the waves have gone somewhere and they've arrived and then carried on. So you never really hear bass. Maybe some bass frequencies are 6 meters away, so you never, yeah, you can't control them. You don't really feel them until you're actually away from a speaker. So sound all travels at low frequencies, have really long waves, high frequencies have really short waves. So you're trying to capture a bit of both. You try not to get boom. When it goes in close, you get this proximity effect, which I was speaking about earlier, which can bring in a very low radio voice. We can do the welcome to late night production for amateurs. So you could do that, and that's your proximity effect. But the proximity effect obviously means you're very close. If you start singing it any louder, it can start distorting and all the rest. You can hear here.
Zach, mm-hmm. I'm your marketing consultant, so amateurs isn't a very good marketing term to use. You have to call it a masterclass.
I know, but that's
people feel like they're masters.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to call it
amateur. Yeah, but amateur is about love. The word comes from.
You're in the sales game now, buddy. This is your pipeline, so
yeah, but not.
Up the egos, feed the egos of people. It's a masterclass. The Zach Ware production masterclass.
Yeah. But you'll hear here that you can hear here. You can hear two voices, an echo. One which is my voice, the source coming through, or at this end, or rather, and then this one. So one way to do it. When you record, that'll come through there like that. So this is our signal. So we'll just go through that again. We get our input and we check where we're actually at, which is around there. And it could be a bit louder, yeah. So there we are, a good, strong, solid level. Nothing peaking or distorting. When it gets loud, if you hear it, all gets distorted. A lot of cheaper microphones and a lot of systems. Again, I think one of the things when people are putting their gain in, they like it loud. You know, we want to hear it loud. We want to hear it distorted. We want to hear it with the saturation and the natural compression that creates. And so we have a tendency just to turn it up a little bit too loud because we want the excitement of what it would sound like when it's done. Because you want that excitement. But that excitement used to come a lot from, again, tape was able to absorb distortion. And so those early records where you got like the Sonics and all those sort of kind of garage bands where it's really distorted and they're just out there screaming their lungs out and the needles are just going, wah! You can hear it in the Animals and the voice there. You've got all these peaks, but those distortions are natural. These ones, they don't, digital distortion's horrible. It just chops off the top. So don't turn it up too loud. You know, it's worth keeping a clean signal because Again, a lot of microphones they'll distort at different frequencies as well. So some frequencies are more, some different microphones have different ratings in terms of what frequencies they pick up. Again, in the old days, you didn't have EQ, you just have lots and lots of microphones, and you choose the microphone you needed, whether it was one for picking out the treble on an acoustic guitar or one for picking out a bass. Now we've got the option using one mic and making choices later with EQ. Now I always add low latency monitoring onto mine and auto punch, because auto punch, if you start recording a lot, comes on automatically. And you do that by going into this panel. I also change it to custom. So when you see custom, you see all your CPU and all that stuff there. You've got your MIDI stuff here. There we go, a little MIDI thing happening. You've got your time signature. You've got how the bars divide up into 16ths. You've got some tempo things that they have, which I won't go into. You've got your tempo. Then you've got your time and bar lines. So you've got your bar and time there, so you know where you are in terms of minutes and seconds. So that gives you all in one thing. So there's a lot to be learned here. There's also a whole bunch of controls there, which we don't need to look at the moment, but that's about cutting things up and moving them around. So we have a guitar, we've got a rough guitar, we've got a piano idea already down, so we may as well just record along to that piano idea. So I've got my counting, I've got my tempo, I press R on the keyboard, 2, 3, 4. So wasn't very happy with that. What I can't remember how to set it up, but my Logic is set up to just record over and create. I think everyone who uses it does the same thing, and create takes underneath, take folders. So we'll just do that again, and it'll build up a take.
You have to select your bar at the top now, Zach. You have to select the little selection bar at the top, the grey bar that's like going between. Yeah, there you go.
No, I don't. No, not. Yeah, what do I see? Yeah, to record and loop round.
Yeah, so you'll get multiple takes.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't have to stop until you just stop whenever you're happy with the take. Your piano with the mistakes might put you off as well, though, no?
It will. Should we? I just didn't want to get into piano editing. I could just
mute it. Just mute it instead.
Yeah. No, I'll keep it in because I'm vibing with it. The idea is you're working quickly. You've made a few mistakes. You need to get the idea down. So I ran through it a few times just to try and, I didn't really get into the groove of a click track and an out of time and out of tune piano, vibey piano, but the idea was just to run through it into a thing. And then the way that Logic, again, this works here, if we zoom in a bit. So I use the command arrow keys down on my right hand, and that allows you to zoom in like that. Make it smaller. That there's There's a latency issue on my machine. I don't know what it is. Great. Let's get rid of that. So we've recorded our idea for our song. Now we're going to think about how it's going to sound. I was actually yeah, quick. We'll do that quickly. So EQ, what's it actually telling us? Sounds quite at the moment. Until there's something else in there, there's not much I'm going to do with that, because I didn't record it too close. I recorded it kind of quite a fair distance away. It's just the sound of the guitar played in time, keeping the vibe going. But what we do want to look at, I thought would be more interesting to look at vocals. And as the majority of the people here who seem to not always be quite as techy are vocalists, I don't know why, but they're often the first go, I can't do this, but actually you're the first ones in line for doing it. So if we go, we don't do that. One, two. So we're talking about proximity effect, so we can get in close and get a nice sound like that. But then it doesn't feel like there's, so to me it feels, yeah, there's where's my, I need to hear a bit more of myself. So there we go. I hope this isn't too loud at home, as they say. One, two. So I need to hear a bit more of myself there. So that when I press play, I'm kind of relaxedly in the mix. I can hear it. I can hear what my voice is doing. Little BBC trick. With your pop guard, put a pencil across it. It cuts the air in half and pushes it around the route. So if you have that line going diagonally across the capsule, that's called the capsule of your microphone. And you have your pop guard with a pencil, that'll stop a lot of the pops. Pop, 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 pop. It's production for amateurs. Okay, so what are we going to do? So we've got to write a quick song. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. There we go. How's that for marketing? Instant. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Now, can we listen to that over and over again for the next half an hour? This is the question. Yeah, should we just go with that? Okay. Thank you, Tobias. I'll go with your thumbs up because that's the only one I can say. Okay, now we've got two instruments there. We can hear the things to production class. We're here to learn some logic. They're both in the same register. They've got the warmth, but when they're together, one of them they don't seem as clear as they could. It might be a fader thing, maybe it's a volume. Now another little thing that I picked up from sine med way was try and keep your volumes at 0, because that way you always know. You just don't know. Again, it's part of do with his. I never really totally followed it, but since I've been doing it, I've had a lot more control, because now I don't turn up. Say for example, I put a compressor on my vocal. I don't turn up the compressor.
Class, we're here to
Turn everything
learn
out
some
and go, oh,
logic
that sounds great, and then
and
turn it
how
down
to
on here.
make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog.
Because then you end up with a mixing board of hundreds of instruments with all of their stuff all over the place. So you really want to think when you change the ratio. A little trick again to get everything back to 0. Option and click, or return it to 0. Option, click. So the idea is not to overload things, but to build up volume and stuff gently and slowly.
Welcome to production class, we're here to learn some logic.
So on that basis, I would. So if you're just using their basic in here. Sorry, I didn't go into this quickly. Are all your effects? All these boxes, apart from where I've got vintage compression and I've done some more, they basically come in and they give you where your delays, your reverbs, EQ, your dynamics. So when we're mixing, most people start by going, before I squeeze the sound, when the two things are going,
Welcome
what now sounds like
production class,
it's in the way.
we're here to learn some logic.
So someone might say, well, there's a little bit too much of the mid. So the mid frequency. So again, we're talking about height here. So we've got the bass is the bottom and the treble is the top. That's the range of our acoustic guitar, from about 100 hertz down there up to about 8 kilohertz really there.
Welcome to production class,
We
we're
remove
here
some of
to
the boom.
learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly.
Because the noise under there is mainly just coming from the amplifier, from proximity, from the room, not necessarily from the instrument. So you can gently roll it off. It can be quite extreme, and often you'll find that when more instruments build up, if you actually take the acoustic guitar or some of these instruments that are so important, they're just these tiny, skinny, tiny little sounds, the way they've filtered everything off.
Welcome to production class, we're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very.
So that might actually work really well as an intro. You know, something as simple as that, and go, right, you have the first part
Welcome
as an intro and go, we do that. And the other, so what we can do here, if this is our, leave that. But we don't really need to do that. What we want to do is just take off a little bit of the bottom, just to give a bit of clarity, take a little bit of the boom out.
Class, we're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog.
So to me, I don't know how everyone else hears that, but to me, I haven't done anything to the vocal at all, but it sounds like I can hear it better. So that's just sort of kind of, and it's really, that's kind of the rules of it. You're just looking for where different instruments and frequencies mask each other. It sounds so simple. All I'm doing all the time is going, is that masking it? Or is that taken away the power? Is that the warmth taken away? Or have I made it clearer? All the time, the conversation, the EQ conversation is, am I keeping the warmth of the instrument? Am I keeping the brightness? Am I keeping the character of its frequency range, so that it still sounds like that instrument, even if I've stripped away all of the bass and all the treble? I've sort of like captured the essence of the instrument somehow in the EQ. That's what we're trying to achieve when we do this. So then the next thing we'll do is let's even out.
Welcome to production class, we're here to learn some logic.
Right, so that's raised,
and how to make a song.
so that raised the level there.
So when anything sounds louder, it usually you think it sounds better. It doesn't, it's just louder. So you have to, when you're putting effects on things, you want to try and level match as you're going. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make. So the idea of compression is just about controlling the peaks. You can kind of see it on the graph here. Welcome to that's my guitar class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make that's big. A song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic. So the compressor's just bouncing along. See how it's peaking? When we want it all to fit into our soundscape, if everything is peaking and bouncing around, all these frequencies, all these volumes are getting interrupting each other. So the idea is that we're just trying to control those and just contain our sounds. So that's what that's about. I'm not going to get into detail because I wanted to too much detail, but maybe a little bit more. So welcome to production. Well, our ratio is our starting point, because our ratio tells us how much we're going to bring the volume down. 4:1 is the accepted sort of kind of place to start if you don't know much about compression. And then you have two other controls: attack, which is the speed, that you have what's called a transient, which is the click of a drum or a snare or something like that. That attack again can often be a real peak and just go bursting through, and that's what the high peaks are. Welcome to production. That's the strum, that's the attack there where it's going through. So as you can see, they're very uneven when they're just coming in. So by putting a bit of to production class, we're here to learn some logic. So we need to raise the attack so it's catching some of it, and then we have release, which tells you how long that's going to last for. Not the best. I should probably do it on a drum or something to really explain compression. But the idea is that we're just trying to smooth this off. Class, we're here to learn some logic. So you can see that's our signal coming there. If we move our ratio, it can make it really steep, and then that's much more gentle. It's going to keep it in that space. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make. So if you raise the threshold quickly so you can go out and flog it, that brings more of the signal in that it's going to affect. Welcome to production class. That'll bring the. So again, the idea is that as you see this, it would start bringing the level down so that the sound comes out smoother, and it just takes those peaks and smooths them off. If we go back to the other way of looking at it, welcome to production class. Every time it bounces fast, that's me hitting it. Every time that needle moves quickly, that's the transient. Welcome the release to production class. We're here to learn some logic. So if we use these at extremes, when the attack's totally down, the release is full. To production class. Then it never goes back to zero. So that is basically your compressor on full. The sound is staying inside that compressed space and with no dynamic at all. So what we're trying to find, if we just have a general bit there, is one way. So this is a great technique for finding out, actually hearing what a compressor's doing. Welcome to production. So we're looking at the attack. So there's a lot of, it's moving very quickly. The attack's right down at zero. If you move it all the way to the other end, everything's much slower now. It's sort of it's absorbing the sound much slower. But we're looking at a percussive instrument, so we don't want it to be that slow. We want it to kind of, we want to let those clicks in. We want some of that rhythm and the movement and the dynamic. And so what I did was I turned the ratio on full, so that you could really, so it's basically going, highest point is trying to bring it down 30 dB, so you're really getting a sense of what these two controls are doing, your attack and your release. So with a quicker, so if we lower our threshold, at this level, this is the guitar, the body of the guitar, and only the very top peaks are being controlled. So you can see it's kind of getting to a rest where it goes back to 0. As we open up release, and as we put more release on, you'll see it doesn't actually return to 0. So that's controlling at what point we've squished the sound so much that it's inside that purely compressed space, which is a real technique these days. You know, and so many things you hear are like that. But we're looking for more. So I'm just going to bring it back down into more normal territory. Now we've just got a movement there. That's much more natural. It's going to the 0. It's allowing it time to rest from the big peaks. So there's still some life in it. Then we do the same thing with the vocal, really. Welcome to production class. We're here put your channel to learn some logic and how to make a... Welcome to production class. So you see that P there? We're here to learn. Welcome to production. We've got this sort of kind of bass frequency down here. We don't want that. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic. I might even take a what's called a high pass filter or a low cut, which you just pull along, and it'll take all of that low level. And a lot of male vocals will cut like that at 100 or 80. Female vocals sometimes up to 128. A lot of modern vocals, again, they'll make the cut. Welcome to production class. And get that quite thin. We're here to learn some logic. So again, you do the same thing there. And compression on the vocal. To production class. We're here to learn some logic. Might want to try different. They all have different tones. How to make a song very quick. They're all based on different real life. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic. So that's got, I always like this one for vocal. It's based on something with numbers. N some 117 LN or something. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. So again, we need to just set the level. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic. So you can feel it's added a lot more warmth into it. A song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Now to me, what's going on there is it's got the compressor itself. It's brought out some of the frequencies of the voice. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic. Around there, a bit boxy. And how to make a song very quick. So around 400 hertz, around there is often. Welcome to production class. So that's what I do there. So okay, so we've got our song. We've written that. We've done loads of things. And I want to share that vocal now, because the whole point of this is not watching me do some track compression and stuff, but it was to send it. But we haven't done sends, so we want to put a bit of reverb. We want to create a space first. So we're just going to use the space that they've set up. It's already there. There's a bus. It's called a large hall. Welcome to production class. We're now here to not so sends. Okay. We can send things in different ways. We send things to effects. I think Tony was saying is not sure about sends. So you create a send by finding a bus route. So what do you want to do? You want to bus it. I want to bus it to an effect that doesn't come automatically. I've got another reverb that I really like. So I create a new bus called bus 4, and I'm going to name it Vox Verb. And it's bus 4. And there's bus 4's come up right next to it. In Pro Tools, you need to set up an auxiliary, but it's the same idea that you have a bus. You know it's going out of the channel as bus 4. In Logic, it's set it up here as a channel strip, Vox Verb. But I need to put something on it. So I'm going to put I like this one. No, I won't do that. It takes ages. I'll just put a chroma verb on it, because that's there. So what do I want it to sound like? Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some Logic. So that's what it comes out like. And how to make. So the easiest thing with reverbs, as I'm sure you all know, is start by just going into the spaces and explore them and find out what ones you like, because the way that they've set them up, they're all set up differently. Once you get an idea of what's going on, you start to feel what spaces you want to be in. So let's just try a few. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some Logic. I quite like that. So here we've got welcome to production class. So with our sends, welcome to production. We've got a dry and wet control. When we use something as a send, I was talking about earlier about when we speak to someone in a room, they're in the room with us, and we want their voice, when we hear it singing to us, to be close and with us. But we want to know where that voice is and what space it's in. So when we put this on here, welcome to production. What most people do is they don't really necessarily look at these. They've got their dry and their wet. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some Logic and how to make a song very quickly. See, having all that the effect is distracting. So we can keep our dry. So this is when we're in the channel strip. So you keep your dry vocal coming through to production class, and you control the wet, the amount of effect. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some Logic. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. Now, I've got 100 instruments, and I want them all to be in that same room. I can't set up that effect on every single instrument, but I want them all to have one common reverb space. Each sound will have its own thing. The vocal will have its own delays, stuff like that. But the idea is we want at least one reverb to say we're kind of sharing this space all together. What space we're in, or certainly with natural sound and music. So the idea is that we use our bus. So we've got bus 4. So let's not have this as Vox Verb. Let's have this as space. We'll call it, I don't know, what do we call it? Just verb. We'll just call it verb. Song verb. So this is, I'm going to try and find a reverb that I want to use on all the instruments. To production class. We're here to learn some Logic. Is this going to work? Is this going to work with the acoustic guitar as well? Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly. So I got really used to that effect then. So when I turned it down, it sounded quite naked. It sounded like it was really clear again, didn't it? Like there wasn't an effect on it. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Welcome. But what we've also got though, production class. We're here to learn some logic. We've got a lot of the dry signals, so we're just increasing our volume. Every time we turn that up, we're just increasing our volume. So we want to turn that, take it off totally. We just have wet. To production class. We're here to learn some logic. Then our volume of our and how to make a song very quickly. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make. So the idea, yeah, so that you get the idea, it's going to be an aesthetic thing about how much you want. But the idea, we set them in a room now. To production class. We're here to learn some logic. So quick space. Now what the next thing I wanted to do was duplicate this track and call it Zach Vox 2, because we took the other routing, the other thing that is called routing and busing is when you want to organize and you have a lot of things going on. So say I've got 3 backing vocals, so I'm just going to do a quick backing vocal. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Great, brilliant, welcome. Genius. To production class. We're here to learn. Now because I know my voice sounds good, I've already set the channel and the compressor, the EQ and the compressor for my voice. I duplicated that track, which is Command D, so that I just had exactly the same set. So when I play it back, welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out. So at which point I would bring the volume, use the compressor, bring the volume of the backing vocal down, and I would just put a bit more reverb on it so it places it behind. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Welcome to production class. So I've just controlled it there, so everything's sitting at 0. All our levels are coming through to production at around -12 here, which is giving us a lot of headroom. To production class. Except for that very annoying boom. Welcome to try and deal with the fade. Welcome to production. So what we then can do, okay, so maybe I've got another backing vocal as well. So getting all these, I'm starting to build up all these tracks now, see? And my screen is going to start getting what I heard one called screen real estate. It's going to start getting really busy. So welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. So we now got welcome back of lead vocal and some backing vocals. Now I'm starting to run out. I don't want to keep using all these compressors and things. So what we do is what we call routings, where we group, or in Logic it's called track stacking, and you select them both, and you go to. Do you do it on that way? I've got so used to using shortcuts that I just use Command G. No, Shift Command G. So this is very important. Shift Command G for those taking notes. But the idea is that you've got is to create tracks. I don't want, like I said, I haven't show track alternatives output track. Can anyone help me who uses Logic where that would be? If there's anyone left awake.
It should be track, create track stack. Yeah, but it's
Flatten stack. Oh, it's because it's already created.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we went to audio 3 and 4, we'll go to track, create track stack. There you go. Folder track or summing stack. We want a summing stack.
Yes.
Because a summing stack gives you exactly the same ability to alter it as a normal chat. It's basically another channel strip. It's just it's routed these two tracks into that new track. So if we go to our main board, press X, and it just brings up the main board. Let's get rid of that. That's useless. You can see now sum 5, which we need to call, I don't know, that maybe that would be drums or mandolin. It's going to be a huge mandolin track. And that would be backing vocals. And in this case, if there was lots of people doing it, it would be Zach BV. Because I might want to treat my backing vocals differently from the other singers, because they'll have different EQs, different vocals, and they'll be doing different things with different purposes. But you could bring them all in together, but then that's the next bit. So press X, get rid of your board. So then what we can do is we can go to Zach Vox 1, remove the compressor. Zach Vox 2, remove the compressor. Actually, no, I'm going to drag it across because I like the settings. So I'm actually just going to drag, I'm just going to reroute to the compressor there. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic. And then with vocals, and this is why it's good to, again, this is, we're looking at vocals. What I'd do then is go, right, okay, I like both those harmonies. I'm going to just duplicate that again. And I'm going to call it Zach Vox 4. If you know what you're doing, you might go low harmony, mid harmony, high harmony, and actually have it labeled about which harmony is doing what. At this point, I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm probably just going to try and duplicate this one. Welcome to production class. We're here. Production class. So I'm just going to double this one. And again, it's all about timing with doubling. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic. And how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Great, so we've got a double track there. Pan one to the left, one to the right. Production class. Then we'll do the same with Vox 3. What's that one? That's just doing an end bit, isn't it? To production class. We're here to learn some production class. Okay. Welcome to production class. Production class. We're here to learn some logic. And how to make a song very quickly. Welcome to production class. See, I got the wrong harmony, so duplicate that. It's now 5. Production class. So it's just sort of kind of, again, in terms of recording these ideas, often it's just throwing them out there and see if a thing comes together. To production class, we're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. So now I have a double of that. Welcome. Production class, learn some logic. You can go out and flog it. And again, what we've got in here is I've kept all the reverbs on, but I don't really. I'd rather they all seem to come from the same place, so they go from the same send. So we have them just going into song verb together. We might put more compression on it because there's more voices. And really try and make it quite small. You can go out and flog it. Comes together. Production class, learn some logic. But they're a little thick still. You can go out and flog it. So we probably want to take some of the bass off, pull out. Production class. So it doesn't clash with the main. How to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. I had some vocal ideas, vocal tips. I did all that pretty much sitting at my desk with my microphone there, because again we're thrown there, but I know it's a good mic and it doesn't sound bad in this corner. But a lot of the time, again, it's about distance. When I get set tracks, I get versions like this and versions like that and versions over here and over there. And when you're mixing all these different tracks and things, you kind of want it to be the same sound. You want it to be the same sound. You want to know your sound. You want to know that when you get into a certain position at a certain distance from your microphone with all your gain set, so they're not going to go into the red. And that was the other thing. These machines, if you turn the gain up full, they will go, there'll be a hiss. So in the old days, so again, another reason not to turn your gain up full, even if you think it's not loud enough, is not to turn it up, because you will just get loads of distortion and hiss. So again, you've got to watch on these old boxes where you have a listen to it, basically turn it up and see what point the room, it will be quiet. There'll be a basic underground noise floor of a hiss, very quiet, and you'll turn your gain up, you'll turn it up, and at a certain point you'll just go just check that, because it might be that you're right on that cusp sometimes to get the best sound. But if it goes over, it will start. You can hear it in the voice. It makes it very difficult to mix. People are always singing up like that. There's all the distortion coming through from the mic. You can't get rid of that when you're trying to mix it at the other end. You want a little bit of distance. So measure it. You've got your pop guard, but also your hand. If you're doing intimate, I can just get right up to that pop guard, basically kiss the pop guard, be up right close. Yeah, this is great. Okay. And then go, right, but if I'm belting, do two hands or something and go, nah, and know that's your distance. Or even go, I've got to be an arm's away when I'm really going for it, and so you can really shout out. So if you've got something that's at that extreme, unless you've got like amazing, whoa, mic technique, do different tracks. Do a chorus track, do a high energy further away from the mic track. Danger of getting too far away from the mic, though, is that we're in untreated rooms. and that means that we end up with the sound of the room in there. So what you want to be doing is do what, you know, record somewhere like James's. James is sitting there with a big settee that's going to deal with all the bass frequencies, curtains, cushions, duvets, clutter. You know, someone said once to me, you know, I asked them, why is your studio so messy? It's like, they're diffusers. You know, in our rooms, sound moves around. So we build expensive things, or things out of wood like that. It's called a Manhattan diffuser or something. So I built a couple of them, nearly lost my finger in the process. So I'm very glad to still be able to play guitar. They basically catch all the high end. So that's what clutter does. That's what loads of pencils on your desk. That's what sort of kind of drapes, curtains, cushions in corners. You know, that's what they do. They take all those up. But then that's more actually what these broadband diffusers they're called, and they're just big block slabs of rock wool. So basically big cushions, big acoustic cushions. That's all they are. So I found in my hotel room when I was recording there with my mic, I'd find a corner where I'd set up with where the curtains were, and hopefully it wasn't loud outside. Where there were curtains there, try and pull one of the curtains around behind the back, put some pillows there, stop the refraction, create a bit of a space that feels like a sound booth that's going to stop your voice just going straight back into the room. So you've got a bit of control over it. And then even, you know, I saw Billie Eilish on tour. To stop the reverb, she actually sang with a duvet over her head, because the hotel room was the sound was so ping-pongy and just like nasty. It was just like, right, we're just going to sing under there and create what you need to do. So there's lots of different ways of trying to capture your best vocal in any environment you're in, you know. And that's one way of doing it, is just think about how to control the refractions and reflections in the room. Okay, so we're going to do that. Go for performance, not technique. Well, technique's good. In time, try and sing it to the beat rather than what you think the beat is. I think a lot of us need to become friends with the beat and the drum, and we lose track of it. But again, that's one of the key tricks, because the reason that backing vocal even works, even though they're all rough, is that they're basically in time, which means they're kind of working in the same place. So even though they're out of tune, they're kind of, you know, a little bit of out of tune, a bit here and there. They feel like a block. They feel like they're together. So when you're doing your BVs, think about trying to do that. Right. Okay. So we've written our track. I sent all these amazing acoustic guitars over to me, because I'm in the strange split world, and I came up with my vocal, and then I came up with my backing vocals. I want to send them. I need to send them, but I didn't record them like that. What I did was I started them when I was recording. I didn't start at the beginning. I just started in the middle, and then my song was really long, so I did another bit there and another bit there. So what I've got is, so here's a use for this. Repeat section. Here it is, repeat section. There we go. I've now got a song. So I didn't start singing my backing vocals until here. Okay, so that's how we normally do it, isn't it? We don't listen to the whole song over and over again. Because when I want a stem, I want it to just everything to be easy to plonk in. It all just starts on 0. So the simplest way to do this, and I think we can do it for multiple tracks, but we'll do it with just one track, is how we export and bounce them so that we can send it to each other. And this will be and it's an export rather than bounce. So we've got different meanings of bounce. The fundamental meaning of bounce is, again, you've got 2 tapes of track, and you're basically making the sound go from one side of that stereo tape to the other, and then it exists over there and here. Then you erase that and you record something else on it. This has 2 tracks on it. Then you bounce it over there. You have an old track. Now you have bass. So anyway, it's a bouncing thing. Is the idea. It's bouncing the sound. So we have a mix down bounce, which is Command B when we just listen to our mix of the whole thing when we're just sharing the song as we've recorded it. So again, on File, Export, and Bounce. So project or section is what we do when we bounce it as, in this case, either a WAV file, WAV 24-bit, sample rate 44, or an MP3. So if I finish the song and I'm sending it to Joe to say, hey Joe, this is what we did today, it'll be like, that's what I do. I send him an MP3, I do that, I put it straight onto WhatsApp or into an email, and he's got that. But what we're talking about is what James did for me the other day, which was he sent me a whole bunch of the stems. Now, I don't know how he got them, but we're looking at where we've created this elaborate world, but we just want everything. And there's too many bits. You know, I've only got 4 here, but I've actually recorded a whole bunch earlier. And I've got all these ideas that I want to send with you as well. But they're all scattered about in tiny little bits and snippets all over the piece. There's no way when I import those, I'm going to know where they go. Even if you sent me the Logic folder, sometimes when it imports them and you import it, it doesn't remember where they sit. I think you've got to do something called SMPTE lock and all of that. But the idea is that if we haven't got all of that technology, we just want to get this information, we just want to get those stems starting from the beginning of the track so that your producer guy's got them. So we go to File, we go to Export Bounce, we go to Track in Place. We can do that, which will create a track that follows from here to here. So that's our first bounce, and it's just called BIP, Bounce in Place. You can, if you're running out of compression, computing power, or you've done a Melodyne or something like that, and you want to turn it off, then you'd bounce that in place, and you would keep that unticked, so it would record that. In this case, it would be the channel EQ. So there we go. We bounce that. That's at some ridiculous length. That means everything takes forever. So that's now starting from 0. So that's one way we can do it. And then you can do export as audio file. Okay. So this method, you do BIP, export as audio file. It's in Logic. At the moment, there's my folder, Collab Production, 10th of January 2023. I label everything with a date, 10th Jan, and then the year. Every mix comes with a date, version 2, version 3 on the day, and anything like that. But you can just track where you are at all times. That's what I find that. I've seen a few engineers and people do it that way. And to me, it's just seeing Jan, seeing the word in the middle of it, makes it something I can relate to, whereas a lot of them will come out as just a bunch of numbers, 10/01/2023. I can't read that. So having the name in it, in capitals, of a real word, helps focus that. So then we'd export it. So again, export it with nothing on. You don't want any normalization. You don't want anybody... You don't want the machine deciding how loud you want it to be. You want to make those choices at your end. It might be that you've got it peaking right close deliberately because you've recorded it really loud and that's just where it is, but it sounds cracking. You don't want the normalization going, oh man, that's way too loud, and then making it small. You just want to keep it as it is. You can put an extra name in there, but at the moment we're just going to export exactly what it is, which is Zach Vox BIP. So if I then go to Finder, actually it's on my Mac, isn't it? Where am I? There. There we are. I saved it in that folder. I should have actually created a... Should have saved it to bounces. Anyway, so I've got that there. So now I can export that as a WAV or as an MP3. I've saved it as a WAV, but it could be an MP3. Now the other way to do that is that's great if you're just doing one file, but that's a lot of faff, isn't it? So imagine if we've got to do that with lots and lots of files. So I think this is the way that we do it. We're about to find out. So we go to File, Export, all tracks as audio files. If you did regions,
or the 5 tracks that you,
or in this case, yeah, all tracks or 5 tracks. Oh, I see. All tracks would be everything, the whole thing. Yeah.
the 5 tracks are those that
But
you
5 selected. Thank you.
selected. Yeah.
5 tracks is all. So in this case, I would just want those 5 tracks, but I could do all of them. But yeah. So 5 tracks is audio files. Again, same thing. Normalizes off. We're sending them as a WAV. Bit different for. Now it's just saying Zach Vox 2 bip, Zach Vox 3 bip, Zach Vox 4 bip. If I work with you every day and we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on and you keep sending files and they're all just Zach Vox 1 bip, Zach Vox 1, you can always put the name of the song in, you know, so production, we're going to call it Flog It, aren't we? Flog It. So now it's doing it, making sure that it's doing that. So that should be done. And what we should find is they've all gone to where we did it. And they should all start from the beginning. Will they? That's not looking too positive, is it? Nope. Oh, there we are. Yeah. So they're all 48 seconds long. They all start from 0. And they're ready to send like that. And that gives me at the other end a good chance of mixing them together. I think that's kind of everything that I was going to talk about, and I hope that all made sense. If everyone hasn't fallen asleep.
Still here, Zach. Still here.
Cool, man. Yeah, questions, I suppose, is the thing. There's some questions about stuff. Or some things that people thought you forgot that. This or whatever. I don't know. Great.
In the production after that, like some other things that maybe you didn't touch on that some people might struggle with would be like editing, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Or in Logic, if most people do use Logic, like other really good stuff that maybe I could explain to people someday on one of these would be the smart drummer that Logic has, which is like useful for those of us who don't play the drums, which is probably everyone.
Which is everyone. I use it all the time. So smart drummer
is really helpful for demos and stuff like. And if you spend time, you can actually make it
sound
really good.
New drummer track. Shall I just share screen again in case people don't know? This is very quick, isn't it? New drummer track. It always brings in SoCal. Welcome to production class. We're here to Genius! The guy knew exactly what I wanted. How to make God, the machine's right on it. Quickly so you can go out and flog it. But it doesn't seem to be quite right. I think there's a wee blip or somewhere where it's so yeah, I mean the thing I've found on this is if you've got a bass in the thing, if you follow the bass At the moment, all it can follow is my rough acoustic guitar. Welcome to production. That's really good because it lines the kick up with the bass that you've played. Welcome to and they always have loads of fills in them, these Logic drummers, so I always turn the fills down as well, so they just sort of kind of come in occasionally. Welcome.
Zach,
Welcome.
would you be so kind to let me show something on your screen just for a moment? Like, if I can control your screen for a moment.
Yeah.
What I would do at this point, if this was me right now and I was producing my little demo, or maybe it's not going to let me, is it?
Where's that? My God, I've got to do into a... Try now. You able to share?
I just requested again. Let me see. You are controlling. Okay, great. I am controlling, but here we go.
My screen.
So yeah, although he doesn't have too many sections to his song, right? We kind of just have the same thing, but we can imagine that we do. I would go to the start, so I press enter, and then I go to arrangement and just click this add button. So it adds like a little thing that says, where's this doing? It says intro, right? So let's imagine that the intro is, I don't know, if that, let's say if that first vocal there wasn't happening.
That's the whole vocal, but yeah, acoustic guitar intro. There we go.
So let's say that vocal there was not happening yet in the arrangement, because your intro might be just this section here. So now you've told the arrangement it's an intro. The drummer also knows it's only an intro, so he doesn't have to kind of go mental yet. And then you can say the next part is the verse, and it'll automatically do that. And then let's say the next part was the chorus. It's guessing right now, and if he guesses wrong, you just click here on the arrow and you can change. And you can also custom, if there's something else like a pre-chorus or whatever, you can just rename it and customize the sections. And then what happens when you're doing your smart drummer, he comes in with one type of drum, and you do a lot of fiddling around and changing the kit and everything. And then also for each section, you just do the same thing. So if you hit here, he's now going to play. You can see he's automatically changed how he's playing dynamically between the different sections. So he's playing one way in the intro, he's playing one way in the verse, and then he's playing another way in the chorus. So he's gone louder again, look. And also what will happen then is the filters, the fills as well will kind of line up as well. They'll like be at the end of the section.
Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you just say there, James, that you're just adding some percussion and some cymbals and just messing that up there.
So let's say you wanted like, a tambourine or a clap or whatever, you can add it in here. And you can also make sure you're following. They weren't following too, right? So you would obviously tell them to follow the bass, for example. But also in here as well, you can, if your guitar or your bass is playing like a little bit behind the beat, you can also tell it to play a little bit behind the beat by telling it to pull a little bit, or if it's a little bit after the beat. this might be a bit complex.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
It does happen. And then also like ghost notes as well. So if it's a funkier beat, there might be those kind of like little in-between notes on like the hi-hat and the snare and stuff. So you can ask it to do more ghost notes. You can also tell it to close or open the hi-hat the whole way through, or automatic, it will guess where you want it to be open and closed. And swing as well will mean that he'll kind of vary between the tempo that he's on, like a little bit in between each bar. And you can play around with that to give yourself different feels at each section. And it does export to MIDI, yeah, exactly. So you can bounce the drums to MIDI and then edit them individually, each different piece individually if you want.
How'd you do that?
I guess you just right click on it. I usually don't go that granular with it, to be honest. I just try and do the editing with the parameters. But I think if you just
control,
you just right click on it, export as MIDI file, and then it just gives it to you.
Yeah, you can actually transfer it as MIDI in there.
You can actually just convert it to MIDI.
Yeah, there you go. Convert to MIDI region. There you go. Yeah. And then you've got MIDI, and you can just play around with it yourself if you prefer to edit in MIDI.
Take out some of those too funky bits.
To be honest, that's only like if you're really, really picky about like one minor detail that you can't get right by just asking it to play louder, to play more complex or whatever.
Yeah.
I
think transitions, you've kind of got to work with some of the transitions sometimes, because you're getting them to play just the right fill that you want randomly or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, that's just another thing that I wanted to share there, because drums can be tricky and you'd be like, oh, I'm gonna have to get a drummer. No, I've sent demos I've done of songs to like top tier professional drummers before and said, oh yeah, I'm getting drum lessons, have a listen and see what you think, like just to take the piss out of them. Like I got some drum lessons and I started recording myself, what do you think? And they're like complimenting me and saying that they're amazing drums. And then I say, oh yeah, I did that in Logic actually. And they're like, no way, you're taking our job. So you can do it. Like,
but as one
demos I've done for the clubhouse rooms have been done there as well.
Someone once said a drummer takes a kit drummer has actually taken 5 people's jobs. There used to be a band. One had a big drum, one had a little drum, one had a snare, one had a cymbal.
There you go. Well, that's all I wanted to share really about the drums thing.
Brilliant. Now we've just got a machine. And now we've got James. Yeah. And then of course there's building drum kits and just having other things set up using the sounds. But no, I mean I don't know about anyone else, but that was quite a long time, wasn't it?
That was brilliant. Thanks a million, Zach. That was really, really cool.
Did that help? I hope that helped. Give everyone an idea of.
That's really awesome. I mean, I work in Pro Tools, so it's all, mostly it's just a language thing, but it all pretty much, you can all do the same thing. But I just really mostly appreciated the going into the compression and the EQ, because that's always my biggest challenge, trying to understand how to sort of place all the instruments sonically into those registers of EQing and stuff. And I'd still like to be have a little bit more understanding about how to read the meters and then adjusting the EQs to that. I still haven't quite figured that stuff out yet. But everything was great. Thank you so much, Zach.
With EQs, these meters. Yeah, I mean it's actually so the drum kit's gonna have a lot of information going on. But for some reason, I don't know. So there's all these. We have these sort of kind of terms about harshness, boominess, boxiness. That
and they kind of exist in spaces. Like you've got your lows, you've got your low lows, and we can't even. That's where the bass E is here on 40. That's actually a. Wait, so I'm going to get the. See on the bottom here.
You're not sharing your screen anymore, Zach, by the way, just
I'm sharing.
in case you would like to know.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, these are actually notes, frequencies on notes. That's G sharp, 49 hertz. I think 40 is E. That's the bass guitar. So that's what they call the fundamental. And then I think it goes 40 to 80, 80 to 160, 160. It goes in sort of movements like that. So that then you have what's called harmonics, and then they're ringing out at different places. So you're building up the note of the guitar, the fundamental. Bow. Then you've got these harmonics that are ringing out on the guitar. Then you've got those harmonics, those ones. They're all in that sound, all those different. They're all kind of in the sound of that open string. So when you play that, that's going all the way up the scale, low notes, high notes, tiny high harmonics right up here. So they're all showing in that when we're trying to understand our EQ. So again, that's the thing of just trying to find the fundamental thing you need from the instrument in the mix. Don't know what else. Yeah. So your bass. So then the instruments live in certain regions, and there's quite a few good. There's good charts that help you with this. I've got one. Give me a moment. I'll bring it up. Where is it? There we go. One of these. Kind of tells you where everything is. I still wander around it, and I should pay much more attention to it. But it'll show you that the guitar fundamentally exists as a sound from about 80 at the bottom, and then to about 120. Then there's lots of funny little light fluffy stuff on the top they call air that goes up. There's 4K, 5K, 6K. So what you're trying to work out is like if you've got a whole bunch of stuff in the middle, if you've got whole saxophones, voices, male voice, there we go. They're kind of between 125 and 8 and 1,000, going up with air, going up to as high as 8K. But if you look at this frequency around 250 to 1K, every instrument is in there in some form. So the biggest challenge sometimes is taking just enough out of each instrument that doesn't take away the fundamental thing that we're hearing and getting excited about. That's the kind of challenge when you're mixing and EQing things, so that you keep the warmth but allow the brightness and stuff. So if we just loop on this, just loop on this vocal. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Again, I use to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. So you clean off the bottom. Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic Now I can hear that there's
And how to make a
So you've
song
got-
very
again,
quickly,
this one
so
shows you
can go out and flog it.
where the peaks are. So you can say, right, those
Welcome
frequencies are very
To
dominant.
production class, we're
what is this
here
sound
to
here?
learn some logic
500, 400. So
and how to make.
a lot of engineers do the boosted thing. If you know it, but the danger of that is everything starts sounding the same. You get really excited about the fact that you think you found a hot spot where there's something horrible. But then when you turn everything up, everything sounds pretty horrible. Some areas more than others. So you kind of got to be thinking in terms of what do I actually need to change and why. You know, is the vocal not cutting through against the guitar? Is it just something that doesn't feel natural? Or do I want it to sound unnatural? Do I want it to sound sharper and clearer and crisper the way it fits in the mix?
Welcome.
Zach, is there any plugin that does this kind of like visually, like that gives you like one big huge kind of XY axis or something, and then like all the instruments come out as like moving blobs?
I don't know, but it sounds like you should make it.
You could just kind of like squeeze them and kind of shape them like with little points on them, you know, the same way you're doing with a wave, but on like each of them.
I know my
just
pal.
fit them all into the soundscape.
My pal does do. I know that he does placement in VR, and he does it for museums and stuff like that. So he's been doing the Scottish Museum's music for years. So it's quite ambient, but now he has to actually put all of their. So if you're walking through a certain sections, you'll get the dinosaur noises, or you'll get the whatever. So these things are coming from all different angles and around. But he's now placing that, whereas before it was a surround sound thing, and he had to imagine himself in the space. And it's quite crude. They're actually making a 3D model of the space, a virtual model, which he then goes in and goes, that sound's going to sound like it's coming from just in that corner there, and this one's going to sound like it's dropping that, you know, it's like that. It's like, wow. Yeah. But at this point, all we can do is
to production class, we're here to learn some logic.
So to me, it's a little heavy and thick in the middle, which we'd call the boxiness, and possibly in the around 200 hertz, because that's where a lot of beef and weight is.
Welcome to production class.
You know, there's a lot of strength there, but there's also a muffledness.
Logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it.
So somewhere in there is a sound that's sort of like, that's what I hear within that.
Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic.
But they're in every bit. They're in every one. There's that oh. So which is the nasty one? You know, that's what you've got to be listening to, because they all sound overwhelming when they're too high.
Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic.
So if I take that right down,
and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it.
It does take away, you know, it actually keeps a lot of the character of my voice, taking that sound out there.
Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it. Welcome to production class.
But there it's warmer. So it's warmer there. So if we were doing it as more of a ballad and we wanted the acoustic guitar, we were going to bring the acoustic guitar down.
Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make.
So if we took the acoustic guitar right down, then having the cut.
Welcome to production class.
That allows that warmth to stay there. Because now we need the body of the voice to sit there and be strong, and because it's just been supported by tiny little instruments, and so it's about the big round voice, or we're putting the voice inside the track more. So if we're inside the track and we actually want the track to have more bass and more punch and more power, and not the vocal. to production class.
Then
we're here
that
to
middle there,
learn
that's
some
also where
logic
one of the main fundamentals of the
and how to
acoustic
make
guitar is
a
as well.
song very
200
quickly
is
so
where the
you
acoustic
can
guitar
go
is.
out and flog it.
So we could either
Welcome to production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly so you can go out and flog it.
Well, you could take out the 200 on the acoustic.
Production class. We're here to learn some logic and how to make a song very quickly.
So here we didn't change the vocal. We kept the warmth in the vocal and realised actually what we wanted was the guitar to be a bit thinner. So that's the choices we're making with EQ all the time. Is like, well, which bit do you want to feel more dominant and more powerful, and which bit do you want to feel more like it's surrounding it? So it's the higher frequencies, and you've taken out the clashing stuff. So yeah, so that's the sort of kind of the key on mixing with EQs, I think, is always looking for what they call masking, where one instrument isn't the same as the other, but you spend an awful lot of time chasing your tail, and you shouldn't do it late at night if you've been doing stuff all day, because all you do is remove more and more bass until you got this strange tinny thing that you wake up in the morning and go, what? I better put all those frequencies back in.
Every single thing I end up doing, it goes into the night, and so I always wake up in the morning with that. Damn, how could I not have heard how horrible this is? I guess that's how you get your work, though, right? You hear what's bad, and then you can go and figure out what's actually the best thing.
Exactly.
So, thanks, Zach. That really helps me a lot. Thank you so much for pointing that out.
Cool. Brilliant. Amazing.
Thank you, Zach.
Well done. Great stuff. Thanks, folks.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Zach.
Hopefully
Thank you.
yeah. Well, it means so by the next one, well, we've got this week. We're all writing songs, aren't we? So I'm expecting very, basically what we always do, which is great, but maybe with a few things bared in mind. And again, all those people that aren't producers, just be thinking about that. Gives you an idea of what we're trying to achieve at the other end as well, and what, just what we're trying to achieve in it. Great music, vibrations, all that. Great.
Thank you so much, Zach. Appreciate you.
Oh, pleasure, man. Thank you. Thanks for everyone for turning up. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, see you all in WhatsApp groups and in our songwriting thing. Cheers, man. Bye. Bye.
Bye.